Hi, it's Jen with Counseling You into Adulthood, and today I want to talk with you about PSEO, or post-secondary enrollment option, and how you can take advantage of that in the state of Minnesota. So I already explained in one of my previous videos what it is, and so now we're going to talk about how to do it, because I think a lot of times we hear about it and we're like, wow, that sounds awesome, but it's like, how do I do it? Like, what's the next step once I've decided that that's something I want to do? So I want to give you those steps. So once you've decided that it's something you want to look into, really, I think the first step is deciding what you want to get out of PSEO. Is it maybe you just want to get your feet wet and try college? Okay, cool. Do you want to just try one class and just see what it's like and then maybe take more classes? That's a really good use of college and that opportunity to take free classes. Are you hoping to take advantage of a lot of the money that you can save by doing PSEO? If that's the case, then, there's kind of a different path you want to go down. So you really want to identify what your purpose is in doing PSEO, and then, we'll go down that path. So for people who want to do PSEO to just see if college is the right thing for them, for you students who are like, I don't really know what I want to do after high school, but I'm a junior and maybe you're in a small school and maybe they have just a bunch of electives and you're like, I don't really want to do any of those things. Then PSEO is cool because it just opens up a whole new world of elective options. So what I recommend is just starting to look at what's out there. Okay. I am going to put a link down in my little subtitle, and what I'm going to do is encourage you to use that link to look at the course offerings within the Minnesota State school system. And what's cool about this link that I'm giving you is, yes, it directs you to Normandale Community College. That's just the college that I went to for my PSEO option because I grew up in Bloomington. And so it was literally right down the street from my high school. So it was convenient for me back in the day when we didn't have much for online course options. So you can look at Normandale because that's the first school that's going to pop up on there. But you actually have the option at the very top of the search bar there to select different schools. So from one page, you can look at, I want to say it's like 20 different colleges, and you can look at all of the different subjects that they offer at their schools, and you can see all the different classes that they offer within those subjects. So my point is, if there's a certain subject that you think you want to take a class on, and maybe your school doesn't offer that class, this is a really cool way to see who offers something in that subject, okay? Now, maybe you're like, well, I can't go to Normandale, I live in International Falls, or, distance is a struggle for you. Then you want to make sure when you're looking at that page that you select to look, or maybe even you don't reduce your search options, but just when you're looking at the search results, that you're only looking at options that are online. So there's tons and tons of schools that have lots of good online options now for college classes. So don't feel like you can't do PSEO because you don't have a school close by. There's so many great online options. I feel like, COVID rocked our world, but this is one of the very few good things that came out of it was colleges had to acclimate to it, and they put all their classes online, or as many as they could that really could be taught online. So you've got some really good choices to look at in terms of online classes. So go through, search the schools, see what classes they have in terms of subjects that are of interest to you. And maybe your first quarter through PSEO, you just do something that's really cool to you. Like, I've always wanted to do glass blowing. And I know there's just a couple schools out there that do glass blowing. Are there any that are close to me? Not so much. But you know, if I'm willing to drive 30 minutes 1 or 2 days a week for the class, then that's something that I could do. So I can look, you know, at the schools that are close enough by me, because I know glass blowing is a class I have to do in person, right? I'll look at those schools first, the ones that are close enough, and identify which ones have that class. Okay. And once I've identified schools that have classes that are of interest to me, what I'm going to do next, you know, I'm going to make myself a list, right, of the schools that have classes that are interesting. Next step for me is to go to those schools' websites and type in their search bar PSEO, okay? Because every school is going to have their own page all about PSEO. And what you want to look at, most importantly, are deadlines, okay? Because you want to know, like, if you want to go there in the fall, are you going to meet the deadline for fall? Usually fall enrollment or application deadlines are around July 1st, sometimes June 1st, especially if it's a school like the University of Minnesota, or I think Duluth might have an earlier deadline as well. Or if you want to go in the spring, then usually the deadlines are around November 1st, December 1st, depending on the school again, okay? So you're looking at deadlines. The next thing you're going to look at is what they're looking for in terms of eligibility for students, okay? Freshmen, sorry, you just can't do PSEO, okay? They're looking for students who have had some high school experience under their belts. They just want students who are a little bit older, to be honest, okay? So sophomores, you can actually go. So you would be actually applying when you are a freshman, which, you know, might feel a little crazy, but you can do it. So what they're looking for is to be eligible, you would be in the top 10% of your class when you're looking at your class rank. Okay, so if you have a class of 100, you need to be number 1 through 10 in that rank. Okay, or usually, and again, this is just usually you're going to have a very high GPA, 3.75 or higher. Okay. Then once you get up to wanting to be a junior and doing PSEO, they're going to relax that a little bit, and they're going to be looking for students usually around a 3.5 or higher, and in the top third of their class rank. And then if you want to be doing it as a senior, then they're going to be looking for you to be around a 3.0. Some schools I've even seen a 2.5 or higher. In terms of your GPA, and then usually in the top half of your class is what they're looking for rank. So each of the schools, though, will post what their requirements are, and some of them will even say, like I saw on Mankato's website, it literally says, if you meet A, B, C, or D requirements, you're automatically accepted, which is really cool, right? You don't have to wait and see what they're gonna say. But other schools will still have you go through the same acceptance pace as everybody else, but you know, you're not having to pay at the end, right? So you still do have to apply if you have decided that you found a school that you like. The nice thing is you don't pay. There's no admissions, or sorry, there's no application fee as a PSEO student. So if there's a couple schools that you're like, you know, I found a couple classes at a couple schools I really like, you can apply to multiple schools, okay? It's just when the time comes that you want to actually enroll, you need to let all of those schools know that you've been accepted to. You need to let them know, like, yes, I'm going to come here this fall. No, I'm not going to come there. And just let all the schools know where you will and won't be going. Okay, so it's okay to apply to multiple schools, and it's even okay to go to multiple schools at the same time. Do I recommend it? No, because you'll also be going to high school. So it's a lot of balls to be juggling, and especially your first time doing PSEO, your first semester, I wouldn't recommend doing more than one school. But maybe, you know, trying one school one semester, and then the next semester, or even better, the next year, trying a different school. that works, especially if you have a couple schools in Minnesota that you're like, oh, I really think seriously I'd like to go to these schools after high school. That's a really great way to try things out, right? Is to get to go and experience them, try their classes, see what their professors are like, all of that. Because you're getting to, get a free trial run at it. So I like to encourage students to do it for that reason, to try different schools. But otherwise, yeah, you're going to go to their websites. Like I said, find out what their admissions requirements are. If you meet their admissions requirements or you think you're even close, by all means, please go ahead and apply. Some schools, if you don't meet their requirements, will allow you to still apply. And then if you don't get accepted, you can talk to their PSEO advisors and find out if there's a way to appeal their decision. I have had students do that and be successful. Sometimes what will happen is you have to do something like take a placement test, like the AccuPlacer, which is a mini version of the ACT. I had a student successfully do that. He, scored above the norm on the AccuPlacer, and then he had to write a short paper or essay explaining kind of why his GPA was a little bit lower and why he felt like he was still ready to be doing PSEO. So that got him into PSEO, and now he's doing really well in there. So you never know unless you try, right? And the worst thing they're going to say is no. And then maybe it just means you need another semester back at high school to get your GPA up a little bit higher, and then try again. Because just because you've been denied once doesn't mean you can't try to apply again in the future. So know that that's definitely an option. But once you apply and you get accepted, you will either hear through email. Well, you should definitely hear through email, and then you'll also get something in the mail. My daughter actually just got her acceptance and got an actual big old folder, which I didn't think they were doing anymore, but they're doing it. So you'll get some paperwork in the mail explaining about orientations and that type of thing. So you'll still go through kind of the same processes as if you were going to be a freshman, only you're going to miss some of it because you're not going to be staying on campus. You're not going to be, living in the dorms, doing the food plan and all of that stuff. So they have a PSEO orientation for you as a PSEO student. So it's going to look a little bit different, but you're still going to have to go get your school ID. You're going to have to go get your books, all of that stuff. If you're strictly doing online only classes, then you may not need to even go in person, and you might do everything strictly online. There are some schools like Normandale where if you decide that you are taking only online classes and you live really far away, you'll just let your PSEO advisor know, like, hey, I see it says I'm supposed to come in person, but I do live, X number of hours away. That's not going to be possible for me. Can you let me know how I can take care of, these other steps virtually? And they'll work with you to do that. So a lot of schools make it really easy for you to be able to complete all of these steps online now instead of having to go in person. So it's really great. But yeah, once you get enrolled, your high school counselor will only have one thing to do, and that is to complete what's called the Notice of Supplemental Registration. It is a one-page document where you as a student just fill out your name and address at the top. You and a parent or guardian sign it and date it, and then your school counselor at the bottom just has to check off a couple boxes, fill out a couple things, and signs it, stating that basically your school knows that you are going to be doing PSEO and that you have room in your schedule to take a class or more than a class if that works in your schedule and you guys have worked that out. And you need to make sure then to get that to your school, to your college. And that kind of also helps with payment too, because the college of course wants to make sure that they get paid. Because they're going to be paid by the Minnesota State Department of Ed. So that paper helps with that. And hopefully, during this process, you will have talked to your counselor too to talk about like what classes would be good. If they tell you, oh yeah, you just need an elective, The only real thing that you want to find out from them is if there's a certain number of credits you need your elective to be, because every high school will have a different conversion rate for those elective credits. So you'll just want to know what that needs to be. Like at the school I'm at, 1 credit is equal to 1 quarter long class. So a 4-credit class is equal to a class that you took all year at our high school, but it may be different at your school. So it's just a good question to ask your counselor to make sure that you're keeping yourself on track for graduation, okay? But otherwise, I think PSEO is really just about like getting to branch out and try new classes. You get to meet so many more new people of different ages. If you're going to community college, it's really a cool way to see just such a wide variety of people. I remember having people anywhere from my age, I was 15 when I started, on up to almost 80 years old. Because when you're a senior citizen, you get really reduced rates for classes. And so there were some people who were just there because they wanted to learn something. So it was a really neat way to learn from my peers and from my elders and just get to save a ton of money on my classes. I was able to get 2 years done of my college classes because my junior and senior year, I really focused on knocking out a ton of my high school credits through PSEO. So that was my goal, was to do as many credits as I could at college, but they also counted towards high school. So I made sure to meet with my college counselor a lot because, for example, I wanted to take my American Lit requirement, and I wanted to make sure that the class I was taking at Normandale met that American Lit requirement. So I didn't want to have to take it at my high school. I just wanted to have to take it once at college. So she would help me identify what classes I could take at college that would help take care of that. And same with my Algebra 2 requirement. What class could I take at college to take care of that, and my statistics and my world history and all of that stuff. So I was able to take care of all of those classes at college. But while I was doing all of that, the more complicated thing, and I have another video on this too, was that I was making sure that I was completing the Minnesota transfer curriculum, so that as I finished up all of those credits and got all of my general eds done towards my bachelor's degree, I knew that all of those credits were going to transfer over seamlessly when I went to the University of Minnesota. And nobody said, oh, we're not going to take this credit, or we're only going to give you 2 credits for that 4-credit class. Everything just went right to the U, and I earned all 44 of my credits at the U, just like I had received at Normandale. So sometimes it can feel really overwhelming. And that's why I think it's really important, if you can meet with your counselor, you should. If your counselor is busy, make sure to have a parent or even just a friend or somebody else that can be a second set of eyes and ears to just talk with you about this, to just help you with this plan, because it's just a lot. There's a lot of moving pieces, and you do also have your PSEO advisor at your college, so they can also be another really good help for you to just make sure you're keeping yourself on track. So just to kind of recap, do some research to find classes that you are interested in taking at PSEO. If you are just wanting to do electives, then just look for the subjects that you're interested in through the link that I'm going to put at the bottom of this video. If you're trying to get knocked out all of the classes, or as many classes as you can, like I wanted to get through all your general eds that you're going to end up having to take towards like a bachelor's degree, then you need to talk with your high school counselor to make sure that you're checking off all the boxes that you need to, while you're also completing your Minnesota transfer curriculum. Okay, so you're going to need to set those appointments up with your counselor. But then while you're doing that, make sure that you're doing your research to find out which school is the best fit for you. Okay, which college you like that has the classes that you're looking for. Apply to those schools as soon as you can, because remember, they all have deadlines for application, but you only need to apply once if you find the school that you want to go to. So in my case, I applied to Normandale, and I stayed at Normandale my 2 years, my junior and senior year of high school. And I only needed to apply once, because once I was in, I was in. But both years, and now I believe actually it's every semester that you're there, you have to fill out that NOSR form that you and your counselor and your parent have to fill out. That does have to be filled out every fall and spring, just to confirm that everybody's on board and everybody knows where the payment's coming from for your classes. So make sure that that gets filled out, but otherwise your enrollment stays active as long as you stay at the same college. So then it's just a matter of you enrolling each term on time in the PSEO classes that you want to stay in. And then you also want to make sure that after your classes are done for each term, each semester, that your grades are being sent back to your high school, because you need those grades to show up on your high school transcript. Okay, they have to make sure that you are earning high school credit for them to help you get your high school diploma. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful. Please go ahead and leave any comments if you have any questions about this. But again, PSEO can be great, like I said, even if it's just for you to take a couple fun electives, or if you're trying to, even if you want to become an electrician and take just a certificate program, you can get that knocked out before you graduate. Or if you're just trying to chip away at credits you need towards a bachelor's degree, there's so many great options out there. And please make sure to watch my other videos on the PSEO option, because there's a lot more that you need to know. So please also make sure to subscribe and follow me for more great information about counseling you into adulthood. Thanks for watching.